Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Edison here, and today I have a public service announcement. Beware of scammers. When it comes to Nintendo, I look for the high quality Nintendo seal. Wait a second, is it called the official Nintendo seal of quality, or is it the original Nintendo seal of quality? Oh, I know, it's definitely this seal is your assurance that Nintendo has approved and guaranteed the quality of this product. Regardless of the name, that's what the seal represents. And this, my friends, is a certified Nintendo product. But before I show you more, make sure to give me your seal of approval by subscribing to the channel. The first clue is in the box. Nintendo chose to call its China exclusive console Shen Youji. That's translated as Divine Gaming Machine. Poetic.
Nice name.
You see guys, consoles were kind of, technically banned in China from 2000 to 2015. And a lot of the quirks of the IQue, which was released in 2003, came down to just two factors: piracy and government regulations. So here's how the story goes. Official console releases and game localizations into Chinese territories were patchy at best throughout the 90s. Since they were economically ahead and had stricter copyright controls, Hong Kong and Taiwan enjoyed some limited support from Sega and Nintendo. But by the 2000s, the mainland market proved too profitable to ignore. But not so fast. At that time, China had long been flooded with Famiclones based on Nintendo's hardware. The Game Boy had flourished by means of parallel imports. And then there was the government. Not the biggest fan of gaming, especially suspicious of foreign companies corrupting the youth. Even recently, you can see the effects it has in modern China. So the result, gaming devices had to be marketed as study machines to at least have a semi-plausible excuse to exist. So despite a ban, Sony was gearing up to release the PS2 in China, and Nintendo wasn't about to miss out. Why is the IQue based on 7-year-old N64 hardware and not a GameCube? Then Nintendo president Satoshi Iwata offered up 3 reasons: low income, lack of logistics, and rampant piracy. In the end, Nintendo found their answer in a man named IQue, the mastermind behind the IQue. Okay, so let's take a closer look before we go any further. The IQue is the N64 system housed inside of a controller using system-in-chip architecture. Honestly, it's a truly elegant and inspiring design choice. The titles released for it were all N64 games. Here, I have original N64 controller versus the IQue. As you can tell, there's a few differences. Like for instance, the N64 Z button is on the back, and the IQue is actually on the left bottom bumper. And there is one downside though for the IQue. It doesn't have rumble support. Now, if you turn over the box here and examine the back, you can see a number of titles. We have Zelda, Mario 64, Star Fox, just to name a few. As a bonus, all the units came preloaded with Dr. Mario 64 and 4 times limited game demos, as well as a voucher to purchase another game. What's notable is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is featured here, but never actually came out for the system, likely due to difficulties emulating the required expansion pack. The initial plan here was for monthly releases, and there was even talk of dipping into the back catalog of retro SNES and NES titles, adding online multiplayer. But in the end, only 14 N64 ports were ever released, the last being Animal Forest in 2006. And these were ambitious ports too, some with big tweaks, altered graphics, and full Chinese voice acting, as well as adding new features like Chinese character input and custom names. Moving along here, we have some games. And honestly, they kind of look like Amazon gift cards. That's because they contain redeemable codes. Yes, the IQue was a fully digital-based console in 2003. In the early days, you have to go to the IQue depots or select locations to load the games. So one big issue was a lack of depots since they were expensive and stores didn't profit much by installing them. But IQue later on rolled out their IQue at home services. And in my opinion, I think the idea is extremely innovative.
What the hell? That sounds like a nice idea.
You know, modern day gaming, we're all digital now, but their execution was just lacking a little bit. But I know the reason why they did this, because during the time in China, there was a lot of counterfeits, so they wanted to protect their copyrights. All right guys, so let's set up the IQue. We have here the controller/console, and here all in one cord is the AV and also the power connector. And the power connector attaches to the brick. Super simple, just like that. And we attach this part to our console. Once you have that done, we gotta plug in the AV cables. The power brick. Simple as that, guys. So the setup is as easy as that. Now let's see if this thing works. Press the power button, turn on our TV. Looks good so far. And boom, works perfectly. So here in the main screen, we have two options. The first one takes you to the home page. And the second one is pretty unique to the Chinese market. We have the year, we have a time limit. So say your kid gets back from school at 7. You can set it from 7 to 8, so he has an hour of free time to play. See the orange squares? That shows you the game has been downloaded and you can play it. The yellow means that it's actually a demo. Affordability was obviously a big factor, and this device retailed for 498 yuan. That's about 75 USD, with games costing less than $10. Nintendo was big on promoting the IQue as a family-friendly machine, good for children's mental and social development. It's exactly how I remember the N64. Wow, the controls are very responsive as well. I mean, this is really smooth. I'm not gonna lie, I was not expecting this. Okay, controls are good as well in this game, and the graphics, it looks just like the N64. I mean, I really honestly don't see a difference. Wow, I'm very impressed. You can see the IQue runs quietly. The performance is consistent and smooth. In fact, several games run faster on the IQue hardware, which has led to interest from the speed running community. Since you can no longer load games through the online services, there have been a few workaround devices. Firstly, you could have multiple cards loaded with different games. If you fail that, there's a Super IQue card introduced in 2014, which manages to fit 4 NAND chips with a switch, allowing you to store all 14 official IQue games at once. And thanks to the IQue Brew team, the console was finally hacked in 2018, opening the door to homebrew and sideloading of other N64 titles. It's not as straightforward as drag and drop emulation. The games must be patched first, but it does give the system a lot of potential going forward to a small but dedicated fan base. But one drawback of miniaturizing everything into a controller form factor is it's only a single controller. So right out of the box, that excludes multiplayer. Enter the family add-on. So initially, when I first got these boxes, I thought this housed the actual console. Look at this, guys. Doesn't that look like the actual console itself? But in actuality, what this does is it just houses ports for extra controllers. More controllers can be added up to 4. Turn off the console, unplug this piece, and into the unit which houses the multiplayer function. Now plug in your controller, take this piece, plug it into your console, and this piece right into the front. And just like that, guys, you're ready to play with your friends. Taiwanese-born Silicon Valley veteran Wei Yang was the man Nintendo entrusted to head up their efforts with IQue. Though some Chinese gamers were skeptical of being fed games a whole generation behind the rest of the world. Nevertheless, the excitement held with the announcement that China's video game industry takes off today. Wei was essential to the development of the graphic processors for the N64, the GameCube, and Wii. That's 3 generations of Nintendo consoles. IQue will be established as a joint venture between Wei and Nintendo. The company was incorporated in 2002 in line with foreign investment regulations of the time. Yan held a 51% stake to Nintendo's 49%. Local connections smoothed the approval process. The console was released in Shanghai in November 2003 with high hopes of selling 1 million units. Those hopes would prove wildly optimistic, and IQue only ever sold in the vicinity of 12,000 units. A follow-up based around the GameCube was ultimately scrapped. IQue's bold experiment failed to bear fruit, but the company would find success by continuing to localize games, handling successful launches of the DS, the 3DS, and other handheld iterations in China, all under IQue's brand, right up until 2018 and the Tencent partnership with the official Chinese Nintendo Switch release. Since 2013, IQue has no longer been a joint venture, but instead functions under Nintendo as the in-house localization team for mainland China. Historical statistics shows Nintendo handhelds were always going to do better in the Chinese market than the consoles, from Hong Kong's Gameboy and onwards. The IQue Player Vision never came to pass and can be seen today as more of a novelty. Yet great work has been done by the IQue research team and the others to document this history. It's especially worth checking out the deep dives on the mythical IQue Wii, which was cancelled right before its release. I can't forget to mention the incredible dedication of fans to uncover and reverse engineer both of these systems. So, I'd like to end the video with a shout out to all the hackers, explorers, and others that have kept the legacy of the IQue alive and playable today. And if you have a high IQ, make sure to subscribe and like the video. I'll see you guys next week.